Hi, Jonathan.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Michelle.
Today's episode is sponsored by Awake Doors and Windows. Elevate your designs with Awake Window and Door Company, where precision engineering meets inspired architecture. Awake's minimal profile, customizable window and door systems frame views, sculpt light, and deliver stunning aesthetics, all crafted from architectural grade materials. But Awake's more than products. It's built on a second mission to create second chance employment and foster a culture of gratitude, ownership, and learning. When you specify Awake, you partner with a team that values people as much as performance. Join architects who trust Awake to realize their vision with clean lines, sustainable excellence, and purpose-driven craftsmanship. Learn more at awake.com, awakewdc.com, and discover less us, more you. And today we're here with Jonathan Segal. Jonathan Segal FAIA Development Company has been awarded 6 national AIA Honor Awards for their housing work. They have been responsible for the design and development of over 300 medium to high density urban residential mixed use and live work units totaling over 300,000 square feet of construction. Segal is considered one of San Diego, California's most successful and pioneering residential architectural development companies and has a reputation for providing superior housing at a lower cost than comparable properties. Their focus is exclusively on urban projects ranging from 80 to 160 dwelling units per acre. Jonathan Segal has been the recipient of numerous accolades, including 40 local, state, and national AIA awards for residential and urban design. Over the past 20 years, Segal has created and modeled the unique practice of architect as developer, a prototype in which the architect has the ability to become the owner, therefore eliminating the client and the general contractor from the design and building process. Segal teaches this concept of architect as developer in an online video course for architects. You can learn more about the Architect as Developer course at the link. And Jonathan Segal FAIA is also available to serve as an expert witness for development disputes, construction deficit litigation, and condemnation law. Learn more about its expert witness services at the link. Jonathan, how are you?
Good. A little sleepy, but I'm good. Very busy.
And I would say, I know it says you're considered one of San Diego, California's most successful and pioneering residential architectural development companies, but that's, I would say, like probably national or internationally known. And also you won the Bernard Maybeck Award a few years ago now.
Been very fortunate. Things have worked out well.
And I loved your story about how you and Wendy came down here. Do you want to review that story? Retell that story?
Geez, that was back in 1983. We had $350 in a Rambler and showed up in San Diego, stayed with my grandpa, who lived here at the time, for a week, and we had to get jobs. So we very fortunate. The recession just finished the week before, so there were a lot of job offers out there. I think there were 15 interviews and 16 job offers. I don't know how I got the extra one, but it was a good time. But previously it wasn't so good. It was a recession, and we didn't want to live in LA. So we lived in San Diego. I grew up in LA.
Yeah. Yeah. In Manhattan Beach, right? Did you go up Manhattan Beach?
Manhattan Beach. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then,
I spent some time in Manhattan Beach because we were up in Venice Beach for 10 years from 89 to 99. And then we moved down here because we wanted to raise a family down here. We already had 2 kids and we wanted to raise kids down here and buy a house down here. And then you had talked about how the Rambler had 4 different tires because you could never afford them. And now you have these great cars, right?
Things have changed a little bit. Yeah. No, I grew up in Manhattan Beach. We were kind of lower middle class. All my friends were pretty affluent. And I had a track and field scholarship that got me to University of Idaho. That's where I met Wendy. And then, did 5 years of architectural education, came down and worked for a guy named Homer Delowy. And then I worked with a company called Clio, 2 years each, and went on my own.
At what age? Do you remember how old you were?
Maybe 25, 26, maybe. 25. Yeah. And then I did my first project at 27. Yeah, that was crazy because that project was 7 on Kettner, and we had 7 row houses we sold, and we sold the last unit, and then the toilet flushed, and it was recession again. It was 1990, right there in the spring, and they just muddled through that and did a couple more condominium projects. Fortunately, didn't get sued on any of those, and moved into for rent housing, and been doing that for forever since, except for my own personal residence that we build.
Which is the one that you are doing right now is
Camino
is the one that uses the wake windows.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, pretty amazing windows.
Yeah.
I just watched the tracks go in for one of the 28-foot long sliders, and we used to use another company, and they've really advanced significantly. Awake is possibly the nicest system that exists, possibly in the world. There may be one better, but I think it's incremental and very minor, the difference. They're out of Arizona, so they're all U.S. based. All the glass comes from here. So the big positive of that is the U.S. The second thing is that if you have a problem, they're not going to be getting it from Europe, and then you have 6 weeks to 8 weeks to 10 weeks to forever for a part. And there's always problems. This one, so far, we've had 0 problems. I hope in 2 weeks we'll have all the glazing systems installed. Pretty cool.
Yeah. I saw that Jonathan has the videos on Instagram of his weekly or biweekly reports on the thing. So they were bringing in the huge pieces of glass.
Yeah, upstairs we have single pane glazing. So we're on the ocean, which is pretty brutal. Like brutal, like you don't even know. The corrosion. So on the upper level, we didn't want operables. We used 3/4-inch plate glass that was 6 feet wide and 8 and change tall, so H6. And they weighed 680 pounds each. Took really 6 guys to lift up each pane. And then we seal all those with vertical sealant. So they're single pane, 3/4-inch thick, and we've used sealant between each one. So there's basically no metal on that. It's all glass. Downstairs, the Awake system on the next 2 levels down is all level 2 anodized aluminum, and has a really nominal exposure on the outside. It's exquisite, really beautiful system.
So what are your first recollections of experiencing architecture?
Well, my mother was an artist, and we always lived in kind of funky, modern or unique homes. Again, we didn't have much money, but so that was actually one of the bonuses, that we didn't have the high up end homes. I remember in Manhattan Beach, we actually lived in a home that was a thesis project for a student from USC. That was all 60s modern, and that was sort of my intro into sort of that kind of vocabulary of architecture, minimalism, and then slowly evolved through friends, through acquaintances, through relationships. Otto Wagner was my initial sort of mentor of sorts. He's from the secessionist movement in Vienna, turn of the century, last century, the 1800s. So it was more based on classical architecture. Postmodernism was sort of the thing, the rage at the time when I graduated, and it evolved from there into trying to achieve less with more. I mean, Mies van der Rohe said more is less, but at architecture, the residential architecture we do, or AAD, architect as developer, we try to achieve more with less. Everything you have to shake it hard, get all the superfluous parts off it, and it really talks about the space and the relationship between the inside and the outside, the glazing, the proportions. That's really how our architecture works. I'm sitting in my bat cave, as I call it. I'll try and spin my computer around for you, if you will, and you can see there's
this is the Quonset hut, right?
That's so I built that with 3, crazy as it is, 3 other guys. We spent 2 months on two Zoom lifts, and we put 6,000 bolts together. These are 2 foot wide and 10 feet long, these segments here. When I was lecturing with Marlon Blackwell in Arkansas, in the country, I saw these things, and I thought, I always really wanted to do a church, and I always wanted to do a vault. And this was a very inexpensive way to create space and also a very inexpensive way to create a roof. It was actually about 60% of the cost if I would have just sealed it over with concrete. And it's exquisite. It's a beautiful space. And it's inexpensive. So we try to always achieve more, obviously with less.
Mhm.
And it's worked out.
Yeah, I did one out in I mean, I really just did the site plan for it, but it was a prefab building because, the owner was kind of like going over all these different things that he could do out there. And then finally he's like, okay, forget it. I'm just gonna he goes, I found, he got like he got this Quonset hut, 1,200 square foot Quonset hut shipped from like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania
Yeah.
to Boulevard for like $24,000. This is probably like 4 or 5 years ago,
Yeah.
and I was like, you can't find it anywhere closer. I said, you have to get it shipped from Pittsburgh. I said, that's fine. I mean, I'll call them up, I'll call up the factory or whatever. And it was like right after COVID had started. So they were just back there and, $24,000.
Yeah. This is the dual dome. This was
That one's huge.
this one's
Yeah.
$55,000 for the inner and then 62 for the outer. There's a 12-inch airspace. So we would, put a bow together and then we'd have to do
Yeah.
the second bow and a third bow. And it was like moving back and forth. And we finally got it stabilized. And then we're putting insulation in it. So it's very temperate in here. It doesn't get hot, doesn't get cold.
Wow.
It's instant roof. It was, I think, about $185,000 installed, and the space is 45 by 80. So pretty inexpensive, if you think about
Yeah.
what you're getting out of it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty. The acoustics are strange, but it's still good.
It sounds fine. I don't
Yeah,
hear any
well, I'm in
echoing.
the funny
Yeah.
corner. It's funny. Diagonally across, I can hear a pin drop over there, but if you move into the middle, I can't hear you at all. It's just I don't understand the dynamic, but it's there.
It's like that in St. Peter's too. You can whisper on one side, you can hear everybody on the other side of the
Right, right,
dome if you go up.
right. There's parts there where you can't hear anything. It's the strange thing. I hope to have. I did a lecture series 10 years ago next year, and I'm going to get all those guys, those people back because there were ladies too that spoke there, and hopefully have the series here in I call it the Bat Cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so are any other recollections of when you were younger?
Just toys, cars, models, things, putting stuff together. And my whole life has pretty much been serendipity. Things just sort of happen. I have goals. I put together a 1, 5, and 10-year goal every year. And some are just lifelong goals. One of my lifelong goals was to build a house on the beach because I grew up in Manhattan Beach and I could never afford to be there. And lo and behold, we're building this wonderful concrete and glass house on the ocean. And the other crazy thing is because we build them, we're building them at typically they're probably 60% of the actual value of the property when it's done. This one's a little better than that, but I never could have actually afforded any of the houses I've ever lived in had to pay retail for them. But because we built them and we developed them, we could always afford more than we could actually afford. So this is that serendipity moment. That house, the owners or the owner was at the end of her life, and the two daughters owned it, and they wanted a long escrow, which no one else wanted. So get back to serendipity. I needed a long escrow because I had to go through the coastal commission and the local coastal commission in the city. It took about 2.5 years to do that.
Yeah.
Should have taken 30 days, but it took 2.5 years. We saved the front of the existing house, which was the first house built in the Lower Hermosa area. And it was a very cute and adorable house. It really was magic. But it was a horrible house. It was poorly planned. The adjacent lot was sold off. That was the backyard. So I wanted to save the house, and the coastal commission wouldn't let me fix any of the parts that were in the setback. So therefore, it rendered it obsolete and unusable. And then the locals wanted me to save the house because they think it's cute and adorable. What it was. So I've saved the garage. I have a wall in the front that I've saved, and then I'm going to have a hedge protecting my privacy. But you'll see the wall and you'll see the garage I think when it's done, I'm going to be quite pleased. And I think the community, which so far has been very supportive, will also be very pleased with the outcome.
Yeah. I mean, I wondered because in the video you were talking about the small house, and I figured there was probably some type of historical thing that was a
Oh,
reason
yeah.
why you had to, yeah.
Built in 23. Again, the cuteness factor is pretty substantial. The mission style.
Mhm.
But you couldn't do anything with it. It was horrible, really strange.
Yeah. So what three classic buildings do you like and why?
Anywhere?
Yeah. And when I say classic, I mean like, what iconic. I think David Hurt said, you mean iconic. And I'm like, yeah, iconic, I get. So what are your three favorite buildings?
Well, the post office that Otto Wagner did is
Uh-huh.
amazing. That's in Vienna. And then Otto Schoenthal did the secessionist gallery, which has it's got a ball that's all gold made out of leaves on it. That's quite beautiful. Saarinen is sort of the architect that I appreciate the most now. I mean, amazing. That guy died at 52 years old and all that he achieved. Deborah Burke did a beautiful YouTube presentation on him. And if you look at the patterns of what he did and how he seismically changed every building type he touched, from a grade school to a church to an office building to a suburban office building to an airport to everything that he did. He did the arch. All of that stuff was massively significant. He also did the tech center in Detroit, Auburn Hills, I think it is. That's exquisite. I've never seen anything at that scale detailed like that. Very fortunate that General Motors invited me to come see that there. And his son, Eli, his dad, excuse me,
Yeah.
Eli
Yeah.
Cranbrook is possibly one of the most exquisite buildings I've ever seen. So it's interesting that you just asked that. And I named pretty much three classical buildings, not modern buildings, that were built. And then two other ones would be the Farnsworth by Mies, and then also Barcelona Pavilion by Mies. And I patterned the Prospect House that I did after the Barcelona Pavilion, as far as planar walls and then an element on top of it.
Yeah.
So they're very influential. And I'm looking at Scarpa's stuff now a lot for detailing and rhythm and how pieces came together and come together. Again, Scarpa had I don't know how you had these budgets, unlimited budgets, maybe because every artisan was so inexpensive.
Yeah.
But we never have a budget. So for instance, I took a brick that's 2 3/4 inches by 7.5 inches by, I think it's 2 1/4. And I took that and I cut it in half and I put it in the ground this way. So basically I had poor man's cobble. And it's things like that where I'm not taking a piece of plywood and trying to make it something that it isn't. These are like pieces that are trying to emulate beautiful pieces, and it's all proportion and the rhythm and the finish that these basic elements have, that have helped make our architecture what it is.
Where did you use the bricks as cobble?
Started with the Prospect because I needed a paver for the outside and I couldn't afford stone or what have you. I laid 6,000 of those myself. I cut them in half myself with Super Mario, a guy that's been with us for a long time. Then I also did those at the Cresta, and now I'm doing those on the back, the front side or the urban side, so it feels more refined of the house. Then on the ocean edge, I'm actually making what I call boardwalk. It's 10 feet wide and 60 feet long out of teak planks, so it feels as though you're sort of on the ocean. Again, very basic stuff, very inexpensive stuff. Then you have to figure out the inexpensive way to build them. I mean, I'm not looking at expensive mechanisms to screw them together and so forth. That's for the $3,000 a foot homes that we don't do. Ours are significantly less than that. We also use subcontractors that build our apartment buildings to do the work on our, let's call them custom homes, if you will.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah.
my concrete guy, my electrical, my mechanical, my plumber. The glazing is a new fantastic awake the group that's working on that. Pretty great guys. I've had really disastrous results with a lot of windows and leaks in the past, and hopefully these are bulletproof. I'm waiting for it, please.
Have you ever been to Vitrisk in Finland, where
No,
the
I've never been.
Saarinens, where the
Never been. No,
Saarinens were?
Saarinen is also
Yeah,
beautiful, but no, I've
yeah,
never seen that kind of stuff. That was probably pretty magic too. I'll get there some point soon.
yeah, yeah. I went there because um I was there. I went to school in Denmark, and that's how I know Patrick Ty from like 1986.
Wow.
It's
I thought it was Tiggy, so it's Ty. Tig?
Ty. Yeah,
I've
it's
met
Ty.
a couple
Yeah,
times.
yeah,
LA.
yeah, 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 yeah. But he's from Boston originally. His dad was a bricklayer in Boston, Mason. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a Mason too. Freemason, as well as a bricklayer.
So what do you like about being an architect?
What do I not like about being an architect?
No, what do you like? What do you like about being an
Start with
architect?
the not like is I've got the respect the architect on the shirt. I didn't like the way when I worked with Homer and Cleo, the way that the architect, who actually is the creator of all for the project and creates the soul of the building, was really second or third fiddle. There's that triangle that's got the owner, the contractor, and the architect. And there's always a battle because each of those three people are pulling. The owner wants as much as he can for as cheap as it can be. The contractor wants to get in and get out and make a bunch of money, and the architect just wants to create magic, right? So the architect's always the bad guy, always the guy that gets kind of stepped on by the contractor, and the owner starts out being in love with the architect, and then by the end of the project may or may not be in love with the architect because the contractors kind of create a rift between them. So that's what I don't like about being an architect, is having clients. What I do like about being what I do is I don't have any clients. So I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. I was just talking to Lorcan Hurley. He called me 2 days ago and says, "Oh, Jonathan, I want to ask you about your concrete buildings." And I said, "Well, what would you like to know, Lorcan?" "Well, how much more does it cost to build a concrete building than a wood one?" I said, "I don't really know, because I don't compare the two and figure out what I'm going to do. I always start with a vision and then make the vision work." He said, "Well, because I had a client that called me up and said, you have a project that begins with a C," and I couldn't remember which one it was at the time, "down in San Diego that's concrete, and he wants me to build a building that looks just like yours." And I'm like, "Well, that's a compliment," which it was, but it was I can't imagine.
Why doesn't he get you then?
Because I don't work for people. And it was the Continental, which is my first micro housing project that I did with no parking, but I had.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. So, because Lorcan has to, he has to fight that battle and do great architecture while sort of managing the client and getting, shitty fees.
Oh yeah, I hear you. I hear you. And
it's all shitty fees. And it's like, you're the brains behind the deal, and it's not that tough. It's all general math. It's like, so why can't you just do it yourself? Well, you can. I mean, like you were mentioning my course. I have a course that you can go online on $600 or something. And I basically teach you how to do everything. I give you all the contracts, all the agreements, and how to get a bank loan and walk through the whole process. It's, in my opinion, more difficult to be an architect working for a client getting sued, which fortunately I've really never been sued. A couple liens turned into lawsuits because they have to perfect them. And I had one bad group way back when I had investors, which I stopped in 2000. That was another element I had to get rid of. First, I had to get rid of the general contractor, which I hired in the beginning because they didn't have experience. And then I had to get rid of the investors because they were always thinking that you were taking advantage of them. Great. Working for peanuts. Anyway, so it's just kind of interesting how that's all evolved. And, we have no clients. We have no general contractor. I'm basically, I just came from the site. and I cleaned all yesterday, big deal. So I just needed to do that. And I didn't have the people to help me. So I cleaned up the whole site yesterday, and I'm happy doing it. I mean, it's exercise. It's fun. I bought lunch for the window guys, and they're really appreciative now. So now they're my best buddies. You know, it's funny what a $12 burrito will do for you. And um, it's camaraderie, and you know, when things are going right and everybody's working together, it's pretty cool. It's really it's a feeling of accomplishment, and it's kind of a blue collar feeling. I also get the white collar feeling. We've sold 3 rounds of buildings. I think the last one was like $80 million we sold, and then the previous 2 were 45 million each. So that's kind of worked out, and we pay our taxes. I don't really exchange into other buildings, so I make that money that I pay the federal government enough to buy, you know, a couple F-35 bombers or what have you. And so that's been wonderful too. And
Support our community in San Diego.
yeah, there you go. But I think the nicest thing is when you get a call from Lorcan or you know, my buddy Marlon or Larry Scarpa, and these are my peers that I sort of grew up with, shall we say, and they're the big dogs, and you know, I'm just this little lone guy with Matthew, my son, helping me. That's it. That's our entire shop. Matthew works a half day with me, and he works on his own stuff now, which is really great for a half day. And you know, I just wouldn't want to have it any other way. I think now is prime time for the economy to take a dump, which it will, and I think it's prime time for people to start their own projects. I think, you know, you always want to do it not when it's blowing up and going crazy, but prior to that, you want to be ahead of that curve. And now is the time to do that. I'd like to build, and if I, you know, thank you for asking. I'd like to build one more garage. This dome is magic. It's a lot of work. I built this one in 6 months. I built around it another 27 apartments. I moved the oldest house in Little Italy here, 1888 it was built, and then rebuilt the roof on site, and then built the last phase was 11 apartments that I built that were 600 square feet each. They're all 2-story units. So they're 1-bedroom, like little houses. And we built that in 4 months and 2 weeks. The entire 11 units, 4 months and 2 weeks, not a year, not 2 years. The house that we'll move into will be 11 months from start to finish construction, not 2.5 years time and material, raping the owner. It's just a different way of doing it. No change orders, no job directives, you know, no RFIs. I'm out there. You want to know what to do this. It's just, I couldn't do it for you as a client, but I can do it for me, and you can do it for yourself. It's very gratifying. It's very, very, very gratifying. And we also, you know, you talk about the cars in-house. I have my George here, Georgie boy, as we call him. He's our in-house mechanic. So he's full-time. And then I have up in Toronto, 2 guys, Mike and Rob, who are arguably some of the top, if not the top restoration people in the world, that currently have 3 of my cars that we're working on. And that's gratifying too. And it's so fun to learn all these things about why and how things were and things are, and what's proper and what's not proper. And authenticity to me is pretty important, architecturally as well as for the car world.
You know, I know people like see you building this stuff that's modern, but also you always, I mean, you've got in several projects, you've kept an existing historical building in the project. The one in Little Italy with the little wine cottage that's next door, right? Yeah, you know, and then with Fat City, right? You did Fat City, right?
No, I got hosed on that. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, liberal Democrats that thought that I was going to kill everybody's job that I didn't. So they put that horrible building up. No, but you're right. I really believe that
like the post office, and then the post office, and yeah, you know,
the fabric's important to keep. And I'm really happy actually how the Camino turned out, keeping the existing garage and the wall. It's a part of history. I mean, if you imagine just going every time and you have a car and you just ignore all the history in the car and do whatever you want to when you're restoring it, it's not right. And it's not right to tear our cities down And that's the sad part of how development works. The people that are doing the development traditionally, not always, because there's some great characters out there. They have no experience in this. It's just a business form. If you look at the large development companies, it's a business. It is not some magic that the people want to save things because they're good people. They just want to get the bottom line done. And you go city to city to city now, and every apartment building looks just the same.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, and it's the same dance, same vocabulary, just relayed out. If you look at most of the new homes that are done, the modern new homes, whatever that, they're black and white. They got black windows, white stucco. Oh, a surprise! There's a horizontal fascia piece that's thrown in that's black. It's unfortunate, but I guess it's always been that way. So don't whine about it. Just ignore and move on and do your own thing.
Yeah. So what would you like to say about we have the fellow question. Yeah. Why did you seek fellowship, and what was your topic?
So to be anointed, as they call it, a fellow, you can do it 4 different ways. One, you can be someone in the field that's done fantastic things for a community. Let's call it, you ran the AIA national get together
Conference or something. Yeah.
Or you were in office. Ron Roberts, I think, was a fellow because he was a politician and did good in theory for people. Ron was one of the guys that screwed me on Fat City. Thank you, Ron. Or you can have invented something. Awake windows. I don't, if you were the architect that did that, or a proper sealant, or some other thing that advanced architecture, you can do it. Or you can be in education, or you can actually do it through being a designer that has elevated themselves above. So back, I think, I can't even remember when it was. I was like, I think the youngest, I don't know if the youngest in the state, but it was definitely youngest in San Diego that ever got their fellowship. And you just apply. And, I don't remember. I can't remember what I did this morning, but I applied, and I think Eric Naslin, myself, Joe Wong, and I forget the gentleman from SDG, all won in the same year, and it was in San Diego, so it was kind of cool. And it was at the Salk, which was also kind of cool. So it's a prestigious thing. It's kind of nice. No one knows what FAIA is. Mr. FAIA in Jonathan FAIA. No one knows really what it is. No one knows what AIA is.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they think for AIA, they think it's licensure, and I'm like, no, it's a club. I'm like, right. it's a membership club. Yeah.
You need it for clientele, right? You need it. Yeah. It's want to know that. Oh, are you AIA? Of course I am. They don't even know what that means. But it's just another thing that it's a gratitude thing that makes you feel better about you're doing something right. It's good. It's good that the fellow. I think 5% of all AIA members are fellows.
Yeah. Did you do it for design then?
Yeah, for design. I applied for it in design. I was quite surprised to get it. That was a long time ago. That must have been 20 years ago, maybe. Yeah, probably 2001 was it here? I'm not sure, but 25 years ago. Crazy. Been a long haul. I built one building a year. So in my garage, I have the I Love Me wall where I walk in, and I've got models of all of it at 1/32 scale, 1/16 scale, little bitty ones. And you walk in sometimes, you go, man, I can't believe, look at all that work of doing all that stuff. And it's a lot of work. It's building one building a year is a lot of work. I couldn't be a guy sitting in the back room just churning out design work all day long. I don't have that in me. I've got one building worth a year, and I'm fine with that. Very, very happy. Larry Scarpa says I could sit back in a room and you close the door. James Cutler was the same. I remember being on a design jury with him. And he was an awkward person. He was very socially awkward. So it was great. They just shoved him in the back room, and he designed all these beautiful buildings.
One of my friends, it was actually, we went to school in Denmark with Patrick also, and she's working with her husband he got a construction management degree from Cal Poly Pomona San Luis Obispo. She got the architecture degree. And then, several years ago, they decided to like start working together, and they're building Cutler building in the Hollywood Hills.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff. Really. He's out of Seattle. Just crazy, beautiful craft. They have a neat language up there. Kundig's a good friend of mine. He's got a really nice language that then, I forget the firm that came out of him. And they do beautiful work up there. It's all very authentic. We don't have that. There's no authentic San Diego architecture, in my opinion. I mean, Rob Quigley probably was the guy that created a language, no longer, but that sort of
kind of like the San Diego vernacular or something.
Him and Ted back in the mid 80s, and Ted's wasn't really a San Diego language. It was sort of an Eastern application in a San Diego location. But those guys, they were the cool guys. I mean, I remember graduating. I graduated in '83, and they were like, Ted was on record houses 2 years in a row. I mean, they were the hippest, coolest guys at the time. And I don't think that much has happened since that, as far as someone taking the baton and creating a language that's still San Diego based.
How long did the micro unit complex take?
11 months.
11 months?
Yeah, Matthew built that. And he built his house on the corner of it. So
yeah.
I wanted to carve that property into two lots, one an L-shaped lot that took the 40 unit micro housing project, and then have Matthew have a fee simple ownership there. And there was a joker on CCDC's board that was from Southeast San Diego, and he was cramming it down my throat that I had to have parking. So my budget was fine until I had the parking, and the parking was $1 million, and it was $1 million over budget because I put the 11 units on the ground. So that was sort of the last time I sort of acquiesced to most people or any people on what I'm doing. There was a wonderful lady, and I forget her name, that was involved in my Camino project, and she was previously on the Coastal Commission. She was with the local community, and that was a brutal experience going through. And she stood up one day and she says, Jonathan's building his own house. This isn't some house for somebody else. This isn't a spec house. He's won a lot of accolades. He's the only, well, at the time there were 5 master architects still alive. One of 5 master architects of the 61 that were ever given that label in San Diego. Mm-hmm. Can't we just let him build his own house? It's going to be nice. And that was that's sort of almost as nice as someone giving me the fellowship award.
Yeah.
There's the highbrow and lowbrow. When you have the ability to meet the highbrow's approval and the lowbrow's approval, it's pretty rare, and that was a really nice compliment that she gave me, and they passed our house. But I'll tell you, the local community yahoos reviewing projects, it's just bad news. They don't know what they're doing. The architects barely know what they're doing. And one said, there's so much glass on your west side. I'm worried about the whales being blinded by your house. And at that point, I had Matthew take over because I just couldn't handle the bullshit anymore. And I learned through this sort of business coach that I use to just try to keep quiet and ignore, because you're never going to win. I'm not going to teach that lady with the concern of the whales being blinded anything, right? You're never going to persuade them. You're not going to persuade them
probably not. Depending on what their age is, probably. Yeah.
Oh, probably, She was moving on. It's just kind of sad how it's gotten to where it's gotten. And we keep thinking, it's all the NIMBYs that have messed up all of Southern California's housing and stuff. So if that's true, then why does the United States have a shortage of housing? Well, they don't. Things just got expensive. Everything got expensive. Yeah. That's why we have a shortage of housing that isn't expensive. I'm not going to use the word affordable because that's a weird term. And it takes a down cycle for that to correct. It's correcting now. The housing is going to come down. I can tell you in the next 1 to 3 years, you're going to see a massive onslaught of houses for sale because people took 3 to 5 to 7 year loans that are going to turn variable. They're fixed right
Yeah.
now. They're going to turn, and
Yeah.
they're not going to be able to afford, a 2.5% loan that shifts to 6, and they're going to have to sell their property. And when it all comes on at once, it's going to be a massive reset of prices in housing. Massive reset. We don't build condos anymore, excuse me. And the condos used to be the affordable housing. So you'd buy a condo.
I mean, yeah. And I mean, it's like when people are so happy, it's just, I mean,
That's
like, why? Yeah.
That's absolutely got to change.
Yeah.
Most defects manifest themselves in the first 2 years. So let's just give it a 2 or 3 year tail and then move on. I've got 2 buildings that are still in that 10-year realm. And it's like, this is bullshit that I've got to come back and deal with maintenance problems for them to keep out of being sued. But I do it because that's what I do to keep out of being sued.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
insurance isn't cheap. But anyway, enough of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I mean, there's a rebuild, and the mortgage and the insurance company are asking all these questions, and why is her fee more than the other 2 people on the street? And it's like, who cares whether
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like,
Mhm.
it's like, you're not in charge. Do you want, do they want to talk to me? Oh, they don't want to talk to you because they're not in charge. I'm like, well, it sounds like they are in charge of choosing the
Right.
architect if they're like asking all these questions.
Yeah.
It's like, let's move on. Like, let's get it going. Like, let's give these people housing so that they can get back in their homes. But instead, there's all these other things that are coming up. But
Don't get me going on the antitrust manner in which insurance brokers can basically carve out the rest of all the other insurance brokers. Yeah, with a broker of record letter. Yeah, that's a different story.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, you just can't. You just got to keep focused on yourself. You can't worry about it.
Exactly. Just move on. And that's why I mean, I would love to do what you're doing. And like 3 years ago or whatever, I'm like, I'm gonna get that course of Jonathan's, and like it's 3 years later, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm still in the same situation.
Build your own house. That's the first. That's the best way to do it.
I did add on to my house. Yeah, I did add on to my house. It was more like an emergency thing, but yeah. So it's like, I'm totally, I mean, I've done like a couple, spec homes, the contractor or whatever, that I'm not crazy about that, right? Because then they're in charge of building it, and like getting rid of certain things in order for, for their value engineering, which of course I'm, not happy about. Yeah. So I just totally want to build my own stuff and then, turn around and sell it, like,
It's easier.
yeah. So what would you like to say about the future of architecture?
I don't quite, I'm not, as I told you earlier, I'm so bad with the computer. I can't draw on a computer. Matthew, my son, can. He's prolific at it. I do freehand sketches for everything I do. It's like I'm on the construction site and we have to detail how I'm going to find it here, I hope, how the shower is going to work. I've got a shower in the middle of a room. So I'll do, I don't have Matthew's ability. Let's get to it. Here we go. So then I do something like this, and there's a detail.
Yeah.
Then, I just make a photograph of it and give it to the subcontractor, and they're happy with it. They don't need anything magic. But anyway, how's the future? I don't understand the artificial intelligence element of it, and how that's going to expedite things or what have you. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully, I with Ted started the new school, not the new school, the Woodbury Master.
MRED.
Yeah, that then they shut it down and they never pursued that. They never marketed it correctly. I mean, we had Lloyd, we had Brett Farrow, Mike Burnett. We had some fantastic people that were teaching there. I mean, when I lectured up at SC, they have a master's in real estate development, but it's all those guys from Shea Homes and stuff. It's not the same. It's
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah. And it's like, okay, so go back to school. Why is school 5 years? It should be 4. Why don't they teach you how to actually draw something you can build? Because we're too much of an elitist, arrogant group. And then you start pushing on that, and then the elitist, arrogant element that runs all that stuff, doesn't want to hear about it. So they sort of push you out of the deal. I do believe that there's a large contagion of architects that would love to do their own stuff and no longer have clients. Maybe it's all of them. I don't know, but I get that a lot. I get, gee, I really wish I could do it. It's like, come on, it's not that hard. You do it, and
There
you.
are, you know what I think, and I mean, I say it on here all the time. It's like a lot of architects that work for these big corporate firms, they think that building a house is so fucking easy, right? They just
Yeah,
think then they have to do a project of their own, and then they start doing stuff, and I'm like, okay, whatever, you think
yeah,
that's going to work, it's like and then they say afterwards, like, I didn't realize that building a house, like, I didn't realize designing a house and building it was so difficult. I didn't realize there were all these details. I didn't know there were all these questions. I didn't know there were all these
yeah.
decisions that we had to make. I'm like, yeah, exactly,
Even remodels, even more difficult, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Remodels is definitely the non way to go. But I've also had a fantastic education free of charge by building all this stuff. So, I'm there all the time. I see all the mess ups. I see all the screw ups. I see all the things that they run into that they don't do correctly. The detailing is not right. And, it was a great education. And now and it has been, but it's now is more so. It's time for me to help other people do what I do. So if someone's more successful than me, great. If someone makes more money than me, great. If someone gets more awards, great. Let me help you, right? Because it doesn't matter to me. You get a point in your life where the only thing that matters is you get out of bed and you can, be active all day, right? That's more important than, making more money. I can't believe some of these guys that just people, not guys specifically,
Huh.
continue to work under stressful environments. No, it's not like this is stress free, by the way,
Yeah, it's
because
a different kind of stress. I feel like it's a stress that right? I like, if you wanted to, you could walk away from it, I mean, and you would be right.
what do you mean by the walk away? I'm not walking away. That's never been my move. But if you'd like to suggest it, I'm listening. Right?
I
Yeah.
mean that I mean that you're not that working for yourself, it's like you're working for yourself, right? You're not
Right.
working, right? You're not working for the man, I mean, like, you're not, like, I mean, it's like where, or you got golden handcuffs or whatever. I mean, it's like we work for ourselves, and I think that, in that way, it's like, okay, it's like, yeah, if I really, right, I'm not working somewhere where they're telling me that, like, no, you have to work with this client, right? Like, you cannot, like, not work with this client, because if we lose this project, the firm is going to fail or something, right? I mean, like, I look at it that way, right? Like, I don't have to work with somebody that is really, because I'm in charge, right? I'm in charge, really.
But you
I'm in
did.
charge of,
But you
like, yeah.
did get to the point where you are. You did. You had to eat crow. You had to keep your mouth quiet. You had to, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. I've got another friend, David Jameson, and Job Moore, that are back east, and they claim now that they go to interviews and they interview the client.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm working for you. I don't think we're a right
Yeah.
fit. I wish you the best. Billy Bob outside's waiting for you. No, I don't think so. So it's definitely an interesting process for that. Uh,
Mhm.
there's times when I get a little overwhelmed, but it's funny because I was talking to a guy we call Bert. He looks like Burt Reynolds.
Uh-huh.
Basically has probably half his teeth, and he's electrician. He's wiring up my lights, and it was just, it was so light today. I was sitting with a friend of mine named Ozzy John. We smoked cigars together,
Uh-huh.
and he came over at 1 o'clock, and we're hanging out, and I'm sitting in there. I got to do stuff. I got to do these brick takeoffs and so forth. And I mean, we're just talking to Bert, and Bert, he
Yeah.
didn't go to Harvard, Yale, Princeton. He's not a callous sophisticate. He's just a funny guy
Mhm.
that's got life stories that he's telling you about.
Mhm.
And they all do, and they all, and the the people that come up from Mexico that work there. They're such hard workers. And, there's no like single white males that want to work anymore. It's changed. The dynamics changed. So back to that, the future of architecture. I think you're going to see a major shift from single white males that dominate to single white males that no one wants to be around anymore, because that's not cool anymore. Females are fun. They're better to work with. For me, they're more temperate. They don't get all hot and crazy. Guys scream. It's bad. Funny, we had a rebar guy and he used use the word dude. Everything was dude, dude, dude. And he, every day you get there and first time I see him, I go, dude. And he go, dude. And it was just, just another piece of the pie and the puzzle that makes up this rich life that I've been involved in because of all the cast of characters. And they all are. I mean, again, back to, I got tired of picking up everybody's little plastic bottles on the site. And everybody, when I say I picked up 50 or 60 bottles a day, I said, I'm done with this, Matthew. You send out a meeting note. You're having a meeting tomorrow morning. You're telling all these people I'm firing $100 a bottle if I find them. And they're supposed to write their name on it. So the glass guy showed up. There were 7 of them. And I asked him, I says, whoa, what's going on here? You got all these bottles. Where's your name? Well, what are you talking about? I said, you got to write your name on it or I'm finding you $100. And they basically said, fuck you. And I said, whoa, easy with the fuck yous here, buddy. But I didn't want him to leave, but I have the right to tell him to leave. And they were shitty. They were shitty. They were really rude, really shitty. And the next day I bought him lunch and now they're like crazy. They're just all peaches and cream. So anyway, enough of that. Mm-hmm. Funny what a burrito will achieve.
Was it a California burrito?
No, it was a surf and turf. From a taco stand.
Yeah, of course. Those are the best ones.
Yeah.
I do remember every time that I was pregnant, I would want I don't eat beef or pork, but I would have a bean burrito because I knew that the lard was in it. And for some reason, when I was pregnant, it tasted really good.
Yeah. That's just as nasty as the other two, but okay. Yeah. Because that lard came from.
That's the only time that I would ever eat lard. I'm the same. I don't use CAD or I don't use CAD. I'm still hand drafting that. I mean, sometimes I'll have somebody else, I'm doing 4 houses and I'm having somebody do it. And then, I mean, that's right. That's difficult because then you have to have somebody, draft the thing. And then you're kind of working, with it. And and the people are saying, well, if you did it yourself, you'd be able to do it. I'm like, I could have drafted all 4 of these houses by myself too. I said, it's taken me more trouble to do this.
The magic of what I have is I have Matthew there and we work so well together. Obviously, everybody has moments. And I have this, this long stick, basswood stick, and I point at the computer and he changes stuff. So it's like it's 2 heads are better than one kind of thing. And it's worked out really well. And that's the amazing part of the architecture that's changed. Because I remember drawing on plastic lead on Mylar. And if you need to make it, you got the eraser came out with made all the little pieces that came out and you had to brush them on the floor and then it gets stuck underneath and you're rubbing the parallel over. I mean, the ability to modify, reconsider, and change is incredible. In today's architecture. That's the part.
Oh yeah.
I think the advancements have been made.
Yeah.
So we basically have in that little building you call the house, it's a garage. I have the 3 floor plans stapled to the wall, and that's my construction set. I have mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural, but the architectural drawings, that's it. There's 3 sheets. Now there's 20 sheets for the city that wanted this drawing that shows this setback, and it's all planning stuff. But it's all Matthew's got that down where he does the slab edge drawings and it's a really cool process. I mean, if you look at a real architectural company doing that, they would probably have a 150-page set of drawings, and then no one looks at the drawings. Nobody.
No, of course, no, nobody looks there. No. I don't think they do. They might ask a question and I'm like, it's in the drawing. Oh,
Oh yeah, yeah. Why did you do it like this? Because I just did it like
yeah.
that. Well, or they always do it like that. It's like, no, that's not what the detail shows. And then, but I'm catching them as we are going. So for instance, the sliders, they put the track in backwards on the 28-footer one. And
Uh-huh.
they were stoked. They had just put the sealant in, they just put the track. I go, that doesn't look right. Those bearings, the ball bearings on the bottom don't look like they're in the right pattern. The track bearings. And they were like, you're right. And they pulled it out and flipped it around. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure that a superintendent would be that close to the project to know that stuff.
Probably not. I think
That's
still
not,
an architect would have to come out. Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
not a
These
put
are
down.
the
It's like I can't imagine someone, here's a book, go build it. It's like, are you kidding me? I'm supposed to read this whole book, remember it, and then build it, and then remember it, and then build. No. So it's a weird setup. And when I had a firm that had, between 1 and 10 people, my policy was you build it because you drew it. So the person that was in charge of the construction drawings would actually go out and they would be the superintendent.
Mhm.
And they know what's coming up, and they knew how to deal with it all.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that that's like something, it's like people say, oh, well, how do you learn like how to do a detail? I'm like, you need to go to the job site and like
There
look to
you
see
go.
how this stuff is really built.
Really
You
built.
can't
Like,
sit there and like
yeah,
Google it somewhere or like, it's like you won't be able to understand it until you see what it actually looks like in the field, because your drawing is not going to be like this drawing, right? This is just a diagram.
yeah.
This isn't, yeah, it's a diagram. It's like, it doesn't really look like that, but yeah.
Draw to the nearest inch, not the nearest eighth. And I'm just amazed at the quality of the concrete that was built on my house on Camino. And it's AC grade plywood. It's C grade plywood because I like the texture of the wood coming out. And
Mhm.
and my policy is there's no patching. No matter what happens, there's no patching. But the tolerances and the squareness and the verticalness, the plumbness, it's just amazing that they can do that. They can get that on the property in this location within these tolerances. Just fabulous, really fabulous.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Well, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Do your own house. Everybody build your own house. And then once you do that and you get that bug, then do 4 units. And then once you accomplish that, build 10 and then build 20 and then reconsider where you're going from there. Because like I said, I built the 11 units that are on grade in Barrio Logan on Newton in 4 months and 2 weeks. And I feel so much more accomplished by building the small scale stuff. Like
Mhm.
all the stuff that's 8 stories now. It's just, I have no interest in doing that. I don't like elevators. I don't like underground parking. I don't like the cost of the elevators. I don't like the cost of the underground parking, the ventilation systems. They're all taxing. And I think it's not the most civilized living. Now, granted, we have to build density, but I think there's a lot more ways to do it than we're doing it. So that's my closing comment is, I had a high rise I was going to build because I want to build a pencil
Oh
building
yeah.
on the
Yeah.
5500, and the economics just derailed during COVID. It
Oh,
was
really?
the wrong
Oh,
way.
okay. So
It
you're not
cost
going to
us the
do
wrong
that
way.
anymore?
No, I have no interest at all.
Okay.
Yeah, my next move is to try and build near my house in La Jolla another bat cave. That's the true goal, if you will.
Mhm.
And then slow down a little bit. Help Matthew. Watch him accomplish. He's got a property he just bought. He's going to renovate the house on it. It's 2 lots that he bought as one project, and he's
Uh-huh.
just started his own single family development on the other one. So that, and I think one other thing you said you're doing, I think 4 houses or something. I wouldn't mind doing a small development of like 10 houses. I think that'd be kind of cool. But I don't want to build, 10 $9 million houses. I want to build.
No. These aren't. They're like 25. They're 2,500 with an attached ADU. So they're all like
That's
3.
still,
Yeah.
I'd still rather be in the
Yeah.
1,600 square foot with attached
Yeah.
ADU. That's a
Yeah. Yeah.
legit ADU, not some, added area that becomes part of the house that's not truly a for rent. I mean, if you
Yeah,
look,
no, this
I
one,
did,
they're 20 by 20. The taps
yeah,
ADUs are 20 by 20 on the back side of the
I
garage.
did that project back in 1996 in Little Italy, Kettner Row.
Huh.
I built row houses that had ADUs on them. 5 of them had ADUs. And I thought that was going to be a pattern that started and it went nowhere. Well, it's back. So, okay, I've got to go down. I've got to take care of George. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
wonderful.
And thank you to Wakeman is Less Us More View. Awake's groundbreaking door and window systems are designed with minimal frames to maximize your view. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Take care. All right, been wonderful.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.